Welcome to Mission San Diego de Alcala, California's first mission. The people who lived at Mission San Diego de Alcala. The Mission San Diego de Alcala was built by Spanish friars, soldiers, and American Indians in the 1700s. The Spanish government sent two men to set up this mission, Fray Serra and Captain Portola. Fray Serra wanted to teach the Indians living in the area, the Kumeyaay, about the Christian faith. Captain Portola was in charge of claiming the land. Together, these men and the men that came from Spain helped to build the mission. Some Kumeyaay started living at the mission soon after the building began. They learned about the Christian faith and helped with the mission work. The Spanish had to get used to all the new environment. The Kumeyaay also had to get used to the new way of life. This did not always go smoothly. The soldiers and Kumeyaay in the area started to fight, even after the mission had to move to a different location to find a better water source. They still fought, and the mission was set on fire. The hardships at Mission San Diego de Alcala. The mission life was not easy. The original mission site did not have very good soil or a good water source. Not enough crops would grow for everyone to have enough food. Everyone who lived at the mission was getting hungry. The friars got permission to move the mission to a new location 6 miles away. Everyone had to start over and build a new mission. Sometimes there were droughts and sometimes there were floods. When these things happened, there would not be enough food and people went hungry again. They also had some big earthquakes that caused a lot of damage. Another difficult thing was that the Kumeyaay who became Christians and lived at the mission were not allowed to leave. If the soldiers caught them trying to leave, they brought them back, but sometimes beat the Kumeyaay. Fray Serra asked the government leaders if the friars could beat the leaders of the Kumeyaay, so they would be treated better. Even though the government said yes, some soldiers didn't listen. This made the Indians very angry and led to a big fight between the Indians and the soldiers. Buildings were set on fire. A friar, a blacksmith, and a carpenter were killed before the soldiers could stop the fighting. It took time for Fray Serra to create peace between the people again. Sickness was a big problem too. The Spanish people brought diseases to the area that the Kumeyaay never had been exposed to before. Many died from things like chickenpox and measles. Also, the Indians were not used to sleeping in dwellings made from adobe. Adobe kept the rooms very cool and damp, which were not good for their lungs, so many started having breathing problems. Description of San Diego de Alcala mission and the dwellings. When the first missionaries arrived in San Diego, temporary dwellings and chapel were built. They were simple and made of things like brush or thatch and wood. This is the chapel at the Mission San Diego de Alcala. When the permanent structures were ready to be built, the missionary soldiers and the Kumeyaay collected materials that were around the area. This included wood, adobe, and plaster. They chopped trees for wood. The missionaries showed the others how to make adobe. This was a mix of clay, water, and straw that was formed with molds into brick shapes and put into the sun to dry. The roofs were made of tile made just with clay and water. The walls were adobe bricks and then plastered. Plaster was made with sand, water, and the mineral lime. The roofs were very simple. The bedroom only had a bed and maybe a small desk. Mission San Diego de Alcala has one bedroom that was preserved for everyone to see. The mission has a large church and a big bell tower called Campanario. The bells ring very loudly.
What?
The bells ring very loudly.
What?
The bells ring very loudly! The bells were used to let everyone know when it was time to wake up or eat or go to church. The living quarters were around the courtyard. Families and unmarried men lived in the buildings near the mission. Other buildings nearby the mission were a hospital, kitchen, grain, storage, and stables. All these things were a very important part of mission life. The food eaten at San Diego de Alcala and how it was acquired. The Kumeyaay were gatherers before the mission was built. That was how they got food. They gathered food like insects, herbs, berries, plants, clover, grass seed, acorns, and nuts. When some of the Kumeyaay started living at the mission, the Spanish showed them how to work in the fields and how to take care of orchards. At the mission, they grew wheat, beans, corn, barley, grapes, fruit, and vegetables. The Spanish also showed them how to cook in brick ovens. If they had time, some of the Kumeyaay women would still gather plants and nuts. Breakfast at the mission would be mush. This would be made from grain or corn. Lunch would be pozole, soup with grains, meat, and vegetables. It was hard work to produce their food when there were problems collecting enough water. The mission moved 6 miles away to a better water source. This allowed them to grow food better or they would starve. What the people did at San Diego de Alcala for fun. There wasn't much information at San Diego de Alcala mission that talked about fun and games. I did more research and I found out that when there was time, they did some fun things. The people living at the mission liked hunting, swimming, and singing. They made bolas and they played stick games. Another game was called bull roar, which was a flat piece of wood cut like a propeller with a string at the end, and you could fly. The Kumeyaay also made and played with their own dominoes. Thank you for joining me at the mission San Diego de Alcala.
Rodea chico guapo, ella mi amigo, cuando baila